Jag Precision has basically provided so many innovations from pistols such as John Wick Chapter 4 with the Pit Viper, the John Wick 3 Combat Master, the Terran Tactical Alpha. The list goes on to even the point where the Sand Viper. Now, basically, let's see how they do with a CO2 powered pistol. Will it work, or is it something else that we have to see into? Let's check it out in this week's episode. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Airsoft Master, and today what we're going to be talking about is the Jag Arms Hi Capa CO2 powered pistol. Now, basically you're asking yourself, well Mike, why would I need a CO2 powered pistol? Well, with being fall around the corner, and as well to that with green gas noticing the temperatures are going to drop, unless you live in California, which is a different story, basically you'll notice that your green gas is not going to be as efficient. With CO2, it's not going to be as a problem because it has a higher pressure rate as well. But let's go ahead and talk about the actual outer barrel. As we've seen, it's a 40mm counterclockwise thread, but you do have the federally mandated orange tip on the end of it. Now for the slide, one thing you'll notice is that it's basically skeletonized on the front end to help improve the cycle rate of the actual pistol when using it. And as well to that for your standard, you do have your front and rear sights as well on the pistol help out with the actual aiming. And to help better improve that speed is you do have this nice iridium front sight to help basically, once you actually target in, you will notice that it actually starts to glow out. And the same thing can be said about the rear sights as well. Now that basically we talked about the slide, let's go ahead and talk about the frame, the grip, and also the other controls that we noticed. Now, for the frame itself, you will notice is you'll have like a Weaver Picatinny mount underneath to actually attach any other flashlights or laser systems for any other types of style that you want to use for it. As well to that, the grip itself should be very familiar to a certain company that we do know. But again, it's a nice texture style, so you'll be able to have that stability inside for the grip itself. And let's go ahead, of course, like we always do notice, is the fact that we see is the ambidextrous controls for basically the safety selector once you cock down the hammer, and your secondary safety with a beaver tail to help basically engage when you want to actually pull the trigger, as such. Now as well to that, you will see on the left hand side is your magazine release. So unfortunately for my lefties, it's going to be a little bit tricky, but at least on the bright side, you're still able to control it, maybe for example using your fire finger itself to help release the magazine after you're done of use. Now let's go ahead and talk about the trigger itself. One thing I do notice about the actual Hi Capa for the Jag Precision is it's very crisp on its pull and reset. So basically, let's go ahead and find out. It's pretty much there like you would see as like the Tokyo Marine 1911s and Hi Capas. And let's go ahead and do that reset. So again, it's a nice audible click to hear the actual reset and the trigger pull of the trigger itself. One thing that's also improving in regards to Jag Precision, as they always like to do, is the flared magwell on the end of it. So basically, you're able to help with the reloads as easy as not even looking at it. So it makes it basically reloading a breeze for you when you actually swap out magazines for Hi Capa itself. Now basically here's the video as we find out is where the hop-up is. Now just like any other Hi Capas you would see, it's the same way as basically to find the hop-up is you would have to disassemble the upper slide itself. Same thing would be here as you would see the half crescent of the area to basically put your takedown latch and to pull it out. Once we do that, pop out the actual latch itself. It'll pop off, remove the actual slide, and it will reveal the wheel inside the hop-up itself right here. To put it back together, it's the same thing as plug and play. And you're good to go. With the Jag Arms Hi Capa basically providing the CO2 magazine itself, to access it on the bottom, all you need to do is just push the pin that would hold the base plate, push down the lip up to basically push and slide out the base plate itself. To reveal the Allen key that you're going to use to unloosen and to remove the actual sealant. Once you do that, put your CO2 cartridge in, and then you'll be good to go. Reverse the process, and then do it really fast on the CO2 cartridge to make sure that you don't lose all your sealant and basically your gas inside the CO2 cartridge itself. Once it's quiet and it's fully sealed, you'll hear a little slight hiss, and then you'll be good to go. Now, in regards of the only magazine compatibility we've seen to test this out, the only magazine we have is the AW Custom CO2 types. But the best part about it is, let's go ahead and test this out and see in regards of the Jag Precisions type of CO2 and see what we're looking at. Now, in regards of the recoil and everything else, this thing is a beast when it comes to it. And as well as that, for my Milsim guys, this does give a nice recoil in the fact of basically to lose your acquisition sights as well, so that to help require it and give you that immersion of what you expect for recoil. But I digress. Let's go ahead and test out with the AW Custom. You still get the same amount of basically the cycle through and everything else, but for some reason it's slightly weaker due to the fact that the gasket itself is a little bit lower and will not do as well with gas efficiency, but it still will work just fine. I'm using 0.20 gram BBs and the regular CO2 12 gram. So when we actually chrono this pistol, mainly this guy here, this is where it's kind of crazy itself. Is one thing we noticed with the temperature wise here in California and with the CO2 that we're using, the average that we looked at on there was around the 400 FPS and above. Now, on average on the other ones we've seen with certain temperatures, we're looking at it varies around 390 to 400 FPS. So for an outdoor pistol, this would be your best bet in regards of it. Now, as well to that, for the cold temperatures, that will drop it slightly, but this is a massive, crazy amount of FPS we would expect from just a pistol itself. When you purchase basically your Jag Arms Hi Capa, one thing that will come into it is your actual operator manual to help out with maintenance, and as well to that to fix any other situations you have for troubleshooting itself, as well to that the Allen key to help remove the CO2, and the one magazine and the pistol itself inside the box ready to go. Now, in conclusion, with the Jag Arms pistol that's CO2 powered, is its fact that for the recoil itself, it's really nuts. I'll be honest, in this whole thing, when we tested this here, the recoil is, I would say, more than I would see in the 1911 Tax or any other CO2 powered pistols I've seen out there. Now, the FPS is where it's amazing too. The fact that I was able to shoot it and get at least, the one thing I saw on my chrono was 417, which is really high for that ridiculous amount. But it can drop when you do have it in the cold temperatures like you see in the wintertime and also in the fall time. And in California, it's still pretty hot. Now, I digress. As well to that, if you're looking for a sidearm that's CO2 and ready to go for any of the wintertime situations, this is your best bet. And the fact that you have a Hi Capa in the amount of rounds that you see, like 25 rounds, this is actually a pretty good setup itself. But what do you guys think about the Jag Precision actual Hi Capa? What do you guys like about it? And as well to that, how would you guys feel about a CO2 and even possibly getting shot by one of these? Well, either way, my name's Mike. I'll see you guys in the next episode.
This video is brought to you by Airsoft Master.